I'm sitting here, in the quiet of my empty living room, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on my chest. The silence is deafening, a stark reminder of the absence that has settled into my life like an unwelcome guest. My daughter, the one person I thought would always be by my side, has distanced herself from me, leaving me to navigate this cold, lonely existence. I never imagined I would find myself here, at this moment, feeling so abandoned and invisible. It's as if the years of love and sacrifice I poured into our relationship have evaporated, leaving nothing but a chilling void. Before I continue, I want to reach out to you, my listeners. Tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I want to know how far my story reaches, how many hearts resonate with my pain. Maybe, just maybe, I'm not as alone as I feel. I can't help but think back to the last time I saw her. It was a brisk autumn day, the leaves swirling around us like the memories of better times. We had plans for lunch, a simple outing that had become our ritual over the years. But that day, something felt different. There was an unspoken tension in the air, a heaviness that lingered between us. As we sat across from each other, I could see the flicker of frustration in her eyes, the way her fingers tapped nervously on the table. I wanted to reach out, to bridge the chasm that had begun to form, but I didn't know how. I felt like a stranger in my own daughter's life. "Mom, can we talk about something?" she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I could sense the storm brewing behind her words, and my heart raced in anticipation. I nodded, urging her to continue, but the words that followed felt like daggers piercing through the fragile fabric of our relationship. She spoke of needing space, of feeling suffocated by my expectations. Each word was a reminder of my failures as a mother, and with every syllable, I felt myself retreating into a shell of despair. "I just need some time to figure things out," she said, her gaze shifting away from mine. It was as if she was trying to escape the weight of our shared history, the love that had once bound us together. "I hope you can understand." Understand? How could I? I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces, the pain so raw and overwhelming that I couldn't even respond. Instead, I sat there, frozen in place, watching her walk away from me, away from the life we had built together. It was the moment that marked the beginning of my loneliness, a moment that echoed in my mind long after she had left. As the days turned into weeks, the silence grew louder. I found myself staring at the walls of my home, the pictures of happier times taunting me with their memories. I would often find myself reaching for my phone, desperate to call her, to hear her voice. But something held me back. Fear? Pride? I didn't know. All I knew was that I felt like a ghost in my own life, haunting the spaces we once shared. There were moments when I would catch a glimpse of her on social media, her life moving forward without me. I would see pictures of her smiling with friends, living her life as if I had never existed in it. It stung, a sharp reminder of my invisibility. I wanted to scream, to shake her and make her see the hurt she was causing. But all I could do was watch from the sidelines, feeling like a forgotten relic of her past. One evening, as I was cleaning out an old box in the attic, I stumbled upon a treasure trove of memories. There were photographs from her childhood, birthday cards filled with sweet messages, and little trinkets that held stories of our time together. I ran my fingers over each item, feeling the warmth of those moments wash over me. But as I sifted through the memories, a sense of despair settled in. How had we gone from this, so much love and laughter, to the silence that now filled my life? I found a small bracelet, one she had made for me when she was just a little girl. It was a simple piece, adorned with colorful beads and a charm shaped like a heart. I held it tightly in my palm, feeling the weight of the years it represented. I remembered the day she gave it to me, her eyes sparkling with pride as she said, "Now you'll always have a piece of me with you, Mom." Those words echoed in my mind, a bittersweet reminder of the bond we once shared. But now, that bond felt frayed, hanging by a thread. I wondered if she even remembered making it, if she thought of me at all. I wanted to believe that she did, but the doubt gnawed at me like an insatiable beast. I felt lost, trapped in a labyrinth of my own making, with no way out. As the winter months crept in, the cold seeped into my bones, mirroring the chill in my heart. I would sit by the window, watching the snowflakes dance outside, each one a reminder of the distance between us. I longed for her to come back, to knock on my door and wrap her arms around me, but that hope felt like a distant memory. I was left with nothing but the echoes of our past, haunting me in the quiet moments. I often found myself reminiscing about the lessons I had tried to impart to her, the values I believed were essential for a fulfilling life. I had always taught her to be strong, to stand up for herself, to chase her dreams. But now I couldn't help but wonder if I had pushed too hard, if my love had become a burden instead of a blessing. The guilt weighed heavily on my heart, a constant reminder of my perceived failures. I tried to distract myself with mundane tasks, gardening, reading, even volunteering at the local shelter, but nothing filled the void she left behind. I would find myself lost in thought, daydreaming about the conversations we used to have, the laughter that once filled our home. I missed her so much that it hurt, a physical ache that I couldn't shake off. One rainy afternoon, as I was wandering through the local thrift store, something caught my eye. It was a dusty old book, its spine cracked and pages yellowed with age. I picked it up, feeling a strange pull toward it, and as I flipped through the pages, I found a note tucked inside. It was a letter, written in beautiful cursive, and as I read the words, I felt a spark of recognition. It spoke of love, loss, and the journey of finding oneself amidst the chaos of life. The words resonated deep within me, and for a moment, I felt a glimmer of hope. I bought the book, clutching it tightly to my chest as I made my way home. That night, I sat down with a cup of tea, the book open in front of me. I read the letter over and over, letting the words wash over me like a balm for my aching heart. It reminded me that even in the darkest moments, there is a flicker of light waiting to be discovered. I realized that I needed to find that light within myself to reclaim my identity beyond being a mother. As I embarked on this journey of self-discovery, I began to write my own letters. I poured my heart onto the pages, expressing my fears, my regrets, and my hopes for the future. I wrote to my daughter, sharing the lessons I had learned, the love I still held for her, and the desire to mend what had been broken. It became a form of therapy, a way to process the pain and find clarity amidst the chaos. But as I wrote, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something deeper at play, a mystery that needed unraveling. I felt as if there were pieces of our story that had been left unsaid, truth hidden beneath the surface. I began to dig deeper, searching for answers in the fragments of my memories, hoping to uncover the reason behind her distance. With every letter I wrote, I found myself reflecting on our past, the moments that had shaped our relationship. I remembered the times I had failed to listen, the moments when my love had turned into pressure. I realized that I had been so focused on guiding her that I had overlooked her own desires and dreams. It was a painful realization, but one that I needed to confront if I ever hoped to reconnect with her. The more I explored my memories, the more I felt the weight of unspoken words pressing down on me. I knew I had to confront the truth, to face the secrets that had lingered in the shadows of our lives. I needed to understand not only my own shortcomings, but also the pain that had driven her away. It was a daunting task, but I was determined to piece together the puzzle of our relationship, to find the missing pieces that would lead me back to her. As I continued my emotional investigation, I found myself drawn to the places we used to visit together. I revisited the park where we spent countless afternoons, the cafe where we shared laughter over steaming cups of coffee, and the beach where we built sandcastles under the warm sun. Each location held memories that tugged at my heartstrings, reminding me of the bond we once shared. I began to take photographs during my visits, capturing the beauty of each place, hoping that the images would serve as a bridge to her heart. I wanted to show her that I was still here, still fighting for our connection, even if it felt like a losing battle. I poured my love into each snapshot, hoping that one day she would see them and feel the warmth of my love reaching out to her. But as the days turned into weeks, I still felt her absence like a gaping wound in my heart. I would often sit by the window, staring out at the world, wondering if she thought of me at all. I wanted to believe that she did, that she felt the weight of our shared history, but the silence was suffocating. I knew I had to confront her, to find a way to break through the wall that had grown between us. And so I made a decision. I would write her a letter, a heartfelt confession of my love and my regrets. I would pour my soul onto the pages, leaving nothing unsaid. I wanted her to know that I understood her need for space, but that I was still here, waiting for her to return. I hoped that my words would reach her, that they would bridge the gap that had formed between us. As I sat down to write, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I knew that this was my chance to express everything I had kept bottled up inside. I began to write, my heart racing as I poured my emotions onto the page. I wrote about the love I still held for her, the memories that brought me joy, and the pain of our separation. I wrote about my regrets, the moments I wished I could take back, and the hope that one day we could find our way back to each other. With each word, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I knew that this letter was my way of reaching out, of breaking through the silence that had enveloped us. I sealed it with a sense of hope, praying that it would find its way to her heart. I wanted her to know that I was still here, still fighting for our connection, and that I would never give up on her. As I dropped the letter in the mailbox, I felt a mix of anxiety and hope. Would she read it? Would it make a difference? I didn't know, but I had to believe that my words would reach her, that they would resonate with the love we once shared. All I could do was wait, holding on to the hope that one day she would find her way back to me. I spent the following days in a haze of anticipation, my heart racing every time I heard the sound of the mailbox creaking open. I found myself checking it obsessively, hoping for a response, a sign that she still cared. But as the days turned into weeks, the silence grew louder, and I began to wonder if I had made a mistake. But then, one fateful afternoon, as I was preparing dinner, I heard a soft knock at the door. My heart leaped into my throat as I rushed to answer, a mix of hope and fear swirling within me. When I opened the door, I was met with the sight of my daughter standing there, her eyes wide with uncertainty. "Mom," she said, her voice trembling, "can we talk?" In that moment, I felt a rush of emotions, relief, fear, hope, all colliding within me. I nodded, stepping aside to let her in, my heart pounding as I closed the door behind us. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the chance to bridge the gap that had formed between us. I could feel the weight of our unspoken words hanging in the air, and I knew that this conversation would change everything. As we sat down together, I could see the vulnerability in her eyes, the uncertainty that mirrored my own. We were both scared, both carrying the weight of our past. But I also felt a glimmer of hope, a flicker of possibility, that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. And so we began to talk, the words flowing between us like a river that had finally broken free from its dam. I poured my heart out, sharing my regrets and my love for her, while she opened up about her own struggles and the reasons behind her distance. It was a cathartic moment, a release of everything we had kept bottled up inside. As we spoke, I could feel the walls between us slowly crumbling. We were no longer mother and daughter separated by silence. We were two souls seeking understanding, two hearts yearning to reconnect. The conversation stretched late into the night, filled with tears, laughter, and the promise of a new beginning. In that moment, I realized that while the winter had been harsh, it had also brought us to this point, a chance to rebuild what had been lost. I could feel the warmth of hope blossoming within me, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, love has the power to heal. As the night drew to a close, I took her hand in mine, feeling the warmth of our connection reignite. "I'm so glad you're here," I whispered, tears streaming down my cheeks. "I've missed you more than words can say." And in that moment, I knew that we had taken the first step toward healing, toward finding our way back to each other. The journey ahead would not be easy, but I was ready to embrace it, to fight for our relationship with everything I had. Because in the end, love is worth fighting for, and I would never let her taste that winter alone again. I often find myself reflecting on the years that have led me to this moment, sitting across from my daughter, feeling the weight of our shared history pressing down on us like an unwelcome guest. It's strange how memories can wrap around your heart, squeezing until it aches. I can still see her, a little girl with pigtails and a bright smile, running through the garden, her laughter mingling with the rustling leaves. Those moments were pure magic, and I cherished every second. But as time passed, the magic faded, replaced by shadows of misunderstandings and unspoken words. I remember the day she left home, the day my heart shattered into a million pieces. It was a chilly autumn afternoon, and the leaves were swirling around us like whispers of the past. She had packed her bags hastily, her face a mask of anger and hurt. I stood in the doorway, my heart racing, desperate to reach out, to pull her back from the edge. "Please don't go, sweetheart," I pleaded, my voice trembling. "We can talk about this." But she wouldn't listen. "You don't understand, Mom. You never have." Her words cut deeper than any knife, leaving scars that would take years to heal. I watched as she walked away, each step echoing in my mind like a funeral march. The door closed behind her with a finality that felt like a death knell. I was left standing there, engulfed in silence, the emptiness of our home swallowing me whole. In the days that followed, I replayed that moment over and over, searching for the words I should have said, the actions I should have taken. I thought about the countless sacrifices I had made for her, the late nights spent working to provide for our family, the dreams I put on hold to ensure she had everything she needed. Did she see any of that, or had I become just another obstacle in her path to independence? As I sat there with my daughter now, I couldn't help but wonder how we had drifted so far apart. I had spent those years in a fog of despair, grappling with feelings of abandonment and loneliness. I often felt like a ghost in my own life, invisible to those I loved most. Friends would come and go, but none could fill the void left by my daughter's absence. I tried to reach out to her, sending messages and cards, but they went unanswered, each silence a reminder of my failure as a mother. The holidays were the hardest. I would decorate the house, hanging ornaments on the tree, each one a memory of Christmases past. I would set the table for dinner, imagining her laughter ringing through the halls. But the only sound was the ticking of the clock, a cruel reminder of the time slipping away. I would sit alone, staring at the empty chair across from me, and I would cry. I felt like a ship lost at sea, adrift without a compass, yearning for the familiar shores of her love. I often thought about the lessons I had tried to teach her, the values I had instilled. I had always believed that love could conquer all, that understanding and communication were the keys to any relationship. But as the years passed, I began to question everything. Had I failed her? Had I not done enough to show her how much she meant to me? The guilt gnawed at me like a relentless tide, pulling me under. One evening, as I sat in my favorite armchair with a cup of tea, I found myself rifling through old photographs. Each snapshot was a window into our past, a kaleidoscope of moments frozen in time. There she was, her face lit up with joy as she held her first trophy from a school play. There was another of us at the beach, her tiny hands clutching a seashell, her eyes wide with wonder. I traced my finger over the images, feeling the warmth of those memories, but it was bittersweet. I could feel the distance between us, like a chasm that had formed over the years, threatening to swallow me whole. I remembered the days she graduated high school, the pride swelling in my chest as I watched her walk across the stage. I had cheered her name, my voice cracking with emotion. "You did it, my love," I had shouted, tears streaming down my face. But she hadn't looked my way. In that moment, I felt invisible, like a shadow in her life, someone who had faded into the background. As I continued to flip through the pages of our history, I stumbled upon a small, dusty box tucked away in the corner of the shelf. It was filled with letters I had written to her over the years, words I had never found the courage to send. I opened it, the scent of aged paper wafting up to greet me. Each letter was a testament to my love, my hopes, and my dreams for her. I had poured my heart into those pages, trying to bridge the gap that had formed between us. "Dear Emily," I read aloud, my voice trembling, "I hope you know how much you are loved." The words echoed in the stillness of the room, and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes. "I miss you every day. I wish I could hold you in my arms again." The ache in my chest grew heavier, a reminder of the distance that had become our reality. I had written about the little things, the mundane moments that had once brought us joy. I had shared my dreams for her future, my hopes that she would find happiness and fulfillment. But I had also written about my pain, my longing for her to come home. Each letter was a cry for connection, a plea for her to understand that I was still here, waiting for her. As I read through the letters, I felt a flicker of determination ignite within me. I had spent far too long in the shadows, allowing my fear and guilt to dictate my actions. I realized then that I needed to take control of my story, to rewrite the narrative that had played out in my mind for so long. I couldn't change the past, but I could shape the future. With renewed resolve, I decided to reach out to her again. I picked up my phone, my hands trembling as I typed out a message. "Emily, I want to talk. I miss you. Please let me know when you're ready." I hit send, my heart racing as I stared at the screen, willing her to respond. I had no idea if she would, but I knew that I had to try. Days turned into weeks, and I felt myself checking my phone obsessively, hoping for a reply. But the silence was deafening. I felt my heart sink, the weight of despair creeping back in. I tried to push it away, reminding myself that I had taken a step forward, that I had chosen to fight for our relationship. But it was hard not to feel defeated. Then, one rainy afternoon, as I was sorting through old clothes in the attic, I stumbled upon something unexpected. Buried beneath a pile of forgotten treasures was an old journal, its cover worn and faded. I opened it, the pages filled with my own handwriting, chronicling the early years of motherhood. I had written about the joys and challenges, the sleepless nights, and the laughter that filled our home. As I flipped through the pages, I was flooded with memories of the bond we had shared. I found an entry dated just before her high school graduation. I had written about my hopes for her future, my dreams of watching her soar. I recalled the excitement I felt as I envisioned her walking across that stage, the world at her feet. But I also wrote about my fears, my worries, that I might not have prepared her for the challenges ahead. I had poured my heart into those words, and as I read them, I could feel the love radiating from the pages. Suddenly, I was struck by an idea. What if I shared these memories with her? What if I could show her the depth of my love, the sacrifices I had made, and the dreams I still held for her? I decided to write her a letter, one that would encapsulate everything I had learned over the years. I wanted her to see that I had never stopped loving her, that I had always believed in her. As I sat down to write, the words flowed from my heart like a river. I wrote about the moments that had shaped us, the laughter and the tears, the dreams and the fears. I shared my regrets, my desire to do better, to be a mother she could be proud of. I poured everything into that letter, hoping that it would bridge the gap between us. When I finished, I sealed the letter with trembling hands, my heart racing as I prepared to send it. I had no idea how she would respond, but I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had done my part. I had reached out, and now it was up to her. Days passed, and I found myself lost in a whirlwind of emotions. I felt hopeful, yet anxious, waiting for a sign that my efforts had not been in vain. Then, one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow across the room, my phone buzzed. My heart leaped into my throat as I picked it up, my hands shaking. It was a message from Emily. "Mom, I got your letter. Can we talk?" In that moment, I felt the weight of the world lift from my shoulders. I had taken a step toward healing, and now it was time to face whatever lay ahead. I replied, my heart racing with anticipation. "Yes, please. I can't wait to see you." As I put my phone down, I realized that the journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in years, I felt a glimmer of hope. I was ready to face the past, to confront the pain, and to embrace the possibility of a new beginning. Because love, even when tested, has the power to heal, to mend the broken pieces, and to bring us back to the warmth of each other's hearts. As I sat in my dimly lit living room, the letter I had written to Emily still fresh in my mind, I felt a sense of urgency wash over me. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring us together again, and now I had to confront the memories that had haunted me for so long. I had poured my heart into those words, and the thought of her reading them filled me with both hope and trepidation. What if she didn't understand? What if the pain of our past was too great to overcome? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I needed to prepare myself for whatever response she might have. I could almost hear the echoes of our past conversations filling the silence of the room. I remembered the last time we spoke, the sharpness of her voice as she told me to stop trying to control her life. It had cut deep, and I had felt like a failure as a mother. But I also remembered the laughter we shared, the times we would curl up on the couch together, watching old movies and sharing popcorn. I could still feel the warmth of those moments, the connection that had once been so strong between us. I longed to return to that place, to have those simple joys back in my life. Days turned into weeks, and the anticipation of Emily's response became a heavy weight on my chest. I found myself staring out the window, watching the world go by, the seasons changing outside, while my heart remained frozen in time. I tried to keep myself busy, tending to my garden, reading books, and even baking her favorite cookies, but nothing seemed to fill the void. Then, one chilly afternoon, as I was brewing a pot of tea, my phone buzzed again. My heart raced as I grabbed it, praying it was her. I opened the message, and my breath caught in my throat. "Can we meet?" It was short and simple, but it felt monumental. I quickly replied, my fingers trembling over the screen. "Yes, when and where?" We settled on a small cafe downtown, a place we used to visit together when she was younger. I chose it because it held so many memories, and I hoped that the familiarity would ease the tension between us. As I prepared for our meeting, I felt a mix of excitement and dread. What would I say? Would I be able to express everything I had felt over the years? The day finally arrived, and as I walked into the cafe, I felt a wave of nostalgia wash over me. The smell of fresh coffee and baked goods enveloped me, and for a moment, I was transported back to simpler times. I spotted Emily sitting at a corner table, her back to me. She looked different, more grown up, and yet I could still see traces of the little girl I once knew. "Emily," I said softly, and she turned to face me. Her expression was guarded, and I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. "Hi, Mom," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. We exchanged awkward pleasantries, and as we sat down, I felt the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. "Thank you for coming," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I got your letter," she said, her gaze dropping to the table. "It was a lot to take in." "I know," I replied, my heart sinking. "I just wanted you to understand how much I love you and how sorry I am for everything." She looked up at me then, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Do you really think it's that simple, that a letter can fix everything?" I felt the sting of her words, but I understood the pain behind them. "No," I admitted. "But I hoped it would be a start. I've missed you so much, Emily." The silence between us stretched, and I could feel the tension crackling in the air. I wanted to reach across the table and take her hand, to show her that I was here, that I was willing to fight for us. But I hesitated, unsure of how she would respond. "Mom, it's not just about you," she finally said, her voice breaking. "You don't understand what it was like for me. I felt so alone growing up. You were always busy with your own life, and I didn't know how to reach out." Her words pierced my heart, and I felt a wave of guilt crash over me. "I never wanted you to feel that way," I whispered, tears welling in my eyes. "I thought I was doing what was best for you. I wanted to provide for you, to give you everything I never had." "But at what cost?" she shot back, her voice rising. "I needed you, Mom. I needed your love and support, not just your money." I could see the hurt in her eyes, and it mirrored the pain I had carried for so long. "I know I failed you," I said, my voice trembling, "and I'm so sorry. I want to make it right, if you'll let me." Emily looked away, her expression softening as she considered my words. "It's not easy for me to forgive, you know," she said quietly. "I've built a wall around myself to protect my heart." "I understand," I replied, my heart aching for the daughter I had lost. "But I want to help you break that wall down. I want to be there for you, to support you in the way you deserve." We spoke for hours, sharing our thoughts and feelings, unearthing the wounds that had festered between us for years. I listened as she recounted the moments of loneliness, the times she felt invisible, and I shared my own struggles, the sacrifices I had made in the name of love. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow across the cafe, I felt a shift in the air. It was as if the weight of our past was beginning to lift. "Maybe we can try," Emily said hesitantly. "Maybe we can start over." My heart swelled with hope, and I reached across the table, taking her hand in mine. "I would love that, sweetheart. I promise to be here for you, to listen, and to support you." For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We had taken a step forward, and while I knew the journey ahead would be challenging, I also knew that we had the strength to face it together. As we left the cafe, I felt lighter, as though a burden had been lifted from my shoulders. We walked side by side, our hearts slowly beginning to mend. I could see the glimmer of hope in Emily's eyes, and it filled me with a renewed sense of purpose. In the days that followed, we began to rebuild our relationship, layer by layer. We met regularly, sharing meals and stories, slowly peeling back the layers of hurt and resentment that had built up over the years. I made a conscious effort to be present, to listen to her, and to show her that I was committed to this new chapter in our lives. I introduced her to my favorite hobbies, and she shared her passions with me. We discovered common interests we hadn't known existed, and with each shared moment, the bond between us grew stronger. I could see the walls she had built around her heart beginning to crumble, and it filled me with joy. But as we moved forward, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something deeper that needed to be addressed. I sensed that Emily was holding back, that there were still secrets buried beneath the surface. I wanted to help her uncover those truths, to face whatever demons lingered in her heart. One afternoon, as we sat in my garden surrounded by blooming flowers, I decided to broach the subject. Emily, is there anything else you want to talk about? I asked gently. I know there's more to your story, and I want to be here for you. She hesitated, her gaze falling to the ground. It's just, I've been through a lot, Mom. There are things I've never told you, things I thought I could handle on my own. Whatever it is, you don't have to face it alone, I assured her, my heart aching for the pain she had endured. You can trust me. After a long pause, she finally spoke. There was a time when I felt so lost, Mom. I didn't know who I was or what I wanted. I struggled with my identity, and it felt like I was drowning. My heart broke for her, and I reached out, placing my hand on hers. I'm so sorry you felt that way, Emily. I wish I could have been there for you. I know, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. But it was hard for me to ask for help. I didn't want to burden you with my problems. You could never be a burden to me, I replied, my voice thick with emotion. You're my daughter, and I love you unconditionally. As we sat there, the weight of her words hung in the air, and I could feel the tension slowly dissipating. I wanted to help her find the strength to face her past, to confront the pain that had lingered for so long. Maybe we can work through this together, I suggested. We can find a way to heal, to let go of the things that have held us back. Emily nodded, her expression softening. I'd like that, Mom. I want to find a way to move forward. In that moment, I felt a renewed sense of hope. We were on the brink of something beautiful, a journey toward healing and understanding. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was willing to fight for our relationship, to help Emily find her way back to herself. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the garden, I realized that the journey ahead was not just about mending our relationship, but also about rediscovering ourselves. Together, we would face the challenges that lay ahead, and I believed that love would guide us through the darkness. I held on to that hope tightly, knowing that even in the coldest winters of our lives, the warmth of love could always lead us back to each other.